Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Lojak. This is our regular MLB betting show that we do with Troy West from allplayswin.com. Today is Monday, June 9th, and right now we're going to take a look at the series for the upcoming weekend. Troy, thanks for being back with us.
Hey, thanks a lot, Pete. Hey, I appreciate it. I think we do need to look back. I think you and I both had a pretty successful week last week, just kind of looking at it from afar. But, hopefully each and every week we can give a solid analysis where people can get a little bit of value going into these series.
All right, well, I do have three series that jumped out at me. Before we get to that, give a plug for allplayswin.com. How are things going? I know you had a great May. How's June going?
So far, June's been so-so, Pete. I'm one that's definitely honest. We had an outstanding May. We've come out in June. We're right around the 50% mark, but some of our unit plays are still intact, as we've talked about a big unit play on the Spurs series, and we did come through with another big win yesterday with the Seattle Mariners. We've just been hotter than a pistol. I feel like if you bet Felix Hernandez, Pete, every single time he throws, you're going to win a hell of a lot more than you lose.
All right, well, there's a lot of upcoming weekend series that caught my eye. I whittled it down to three, and the first one is Tampa Bay at Houston. And, we know the deal with Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is something awful, right? Minus 31.5% ROI overall, and that is by far the worst in baseball. They're down 25.5 units so far, and for comparison, the second worst team in all of baseball is Boston, down only 12 units. So, auto-fading Tampa Bay at this point seems like it can't be that much of a wrong thing to do. And Houston's actually playing very well, and they're improving as the season goes on. They're actually plus 2.5% ROI overall and roughly plus 20% ROI in May and June. They're at home. The lines probably won't be too huge considering the reputations of these two teams. We take Houston here?
Yeah, I would think you'd go Houston. Tampa Bay does scare everybody, Pete, because they do have good pitching. I mean, you look at Cobb, he is 1-4. He's going to go in that Friday game. But the guy, historically has been good, so it just scares you to keep going against Tampa Bay. But at this point in the season, you look at that record of 24-40, 11-22 on the road. So, the numbers do show auto fade. It's just tough to bet against guys like David Price, Cobb. Eric Bedard has potential to throw well. So it does scare me a little bit. So officially, I'm not going to go on record, but, if you're looking at it from the number standpoint, it's definitely an auto fade.
Well, I'm confident enough. I look at that minus 31.5% ROI overall, by far the worst in baseball. That makes me confident enough. I'll go on official record taking Houston in this series. And then the other end of the spectrum, San Francisco, right? These guys have been unbelievable. Plus 28.2% ROI overall, and that is by far the best in baseball. And they're going to be at home against Colorado. And Colorado, of course, has always been bad on the road this year, even when they were winning a lot at home. Now they're just kind of losing everywhere overall. They're minus 7.5% ROI overall. They've been bad in May, awful in June, minus 22% ROI on the road overall. Is this another no-brainer? Take SF here with value?
Yeah, no, this reminds me of the SF team that won the World Series not too long ago, Pete. When you got a guy like Tim Lincecum as your number 5 starter, You feel pretty good every single time in these series, Pete, when you get the starter, whether it's Tim Lincecum, Ryan Vogelsong, even guys like Tim Hudson. This is just an outstanding pitching staff. So I'm going to go Giants in this series, too. I think they'll at least get 2 of 3. All year long, they've proven that they're not going to be in that minus 200 range.
Right, exactly.
So I think they still continue to have value, and I think they'll get 2 out of 3 again in this series.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We're not seeing those like LA Dodgers type lines with San Francisco. Maybe they should have them. All right, then the third series, there were a bunch of series again that I like. Third one that I decided on to discuss here is KC at the White Sox. The White Sox are an interesting team. They're actually not too bad this year. They've got kind of a lively offense. Abreu has been awesome, and he's back. Chris Sale, of course, is back. They are actually a plus 8.5% ROI on the year overall, and that's 6th best in baseball. And KC, just kind of a mediocre, uninspiring team. They've got kind of an anemic offense. They're not a team that I necessarily want to auto-fade, but I feel very comfortable going against them in any spot where I want to bet on the team they're playing. They're minus 8% ROI on the year overall, and they have been profitable in June so far, but they were actually the worst team in all of baseball to bet on in May. So you think the White Sox might be a blind good bet here?
I looked at this series, P, when we discussed about talking about it. I'm going to actually lean unders in this series. Okay. You look at that Friday matchup, and you got Duffy going against Quintana. I just think, the ERAs, again, both guys in that under 4. The win-loss record may not be great, but they're good pitching. And these lineups can be inconsistent. I know you mentioned Abreu. He's had an outstanding year so far, but to me, both these lineups have been inconsistent. You got James Shields going against Hector Nehuese. And Nehuese, he was a former Mariner, and then he was with Texas. He's been terrible, but he's actually pitched well in his last few outings. So that Saturday game, you've got Shields versus Hector Noese. So I'm just going to lean unders actually in this, Pete. 2 out of 3 is I think the pitching matchups favor the unders in this series.
Definitely doesn't scare me to take unders with Casey's offense. That's all I have for this upcoming weekend. Troy, what series do you think might be interesting to take a look at?
Yeah, the one series I want to circle again, Pete, is the Seattle Mariners. We talked about them last week, going up against the Tampa Bay Rays, and so far they've taken 2 out of 3 going into today, and they've been underdogs. And even yesterday with Felix Hernandez on the mound, they were still only minus 120. You go into that series on the Friday night, you're going to get Felix Hernandez once again, 8-1 now, Pete, 2.39 ERA. The guy's been lights out, and then going into later in that series, you're going to get Hiwakuma again. So as a gambler out there, Pete, if you look at a series where you're going to get Felix Hernandez and Hiwakuma in the same series, I think it's a pretty darn safe bet to go with the Seattle Mariners to get 2 out of 3. So I'm going to go with Seattle over Texas in that series.
Troy West from allplayswin.com. Thanks so much. Talk to you again very soon.